The president may have been right all along. Newly revealed, text messages from Peter Strzok, you remember that name, showing him discussing the case several days before it was officially opened, The texts are dated July 28, 2016, a few months before the election. The FBI said that Crossfire Hurricane was not launched until July 31st. Okay, so what do you make of this? The person discussed in these new texts was former Trump campaign advisor George Papadopoulos, and he joins us live this morning to talk about all this. George, good to see you. Just give us the broad strokes of this. What are we looking at here?
Well, what I think we're looking at here is that Jim Comey, Peter Strzok, and Lisa Page are going to be three names that are going to go down in infamy for causing irreparable harm to the FBI's reputation as an unbiased and nonpartisan institution. And you know, in this country, Lady Justice is often depicted as wearing a blindfold. And what that blindfold is supposed to represent is an impartial justice system, one in which wealth or political affiliation doesn't have you treated differently than your fellow citizens. And in the case of what's going on here with these newly revealed text messages, they just simply reinforce what the president, AG Barr, and John Durham have been saying from the beginning, that this investigation started with no basis, it was likely illegal, and it should have never started in the first place and continued through the Trump presidency.
You know, when you listen to Brennan talk about this and you listen to these guys defend themselves, though, they say that they still believe that there was enough there to start these investigations, that this had to be looked into, that it looked so dirty, that there was all of this smoke. What's your response to that?
I go with the people that have read the classified information, and that's AG Barr and John Durham.
Yeah.
And they both publicly refuted people like John Brennan and even the IG, Horowitz, who came up with his report about a year ago, where he actually referred FBI officials for criminal prosecution. And one of those officials has actually been prosecuted. He was indicted. He pled guilty. And John Durham has recommended a prison sentence for him for about 6 months. So these are very serious crimes that the other side committed against the Trump campaign, and by extension, the American people. The American people want accountability, transparency, and justice. And unfortunately, it came after the election, but it's never too late to get the truth out there.
Yeah, I mean, you were spied on. Evidently, they had listened in on phone calls that you had with executives over at Fox News. Do you know which phone calls they're referring to? What did they learn from these calls?
Well, look, I've learned a lot about my life during my time on the Trump campaign based on these declassified files. And I had absolutely no idea that basically upon joining the Trump campaign, I had spies and honeypots and recordings. And now apparently my phone calls were being recorded with people over at Fox and other people. So, you know, I think Jim Comey is starting to make Hoover look like a choir boy when it comes to the actions that he was taking again about offending American civil liberties. It happened to me. It could happen to anybody, and it happened to others on the campaign. And this is something that should worry all Americans. And we shouldn't be divided along partisan lines regarding the malfeasance and this egregious misconduct by the Comey FBI.
Mm. There was another kind of an eye-opening moment, I guess we should say, in the text as well. The agents had this exchange. One agent says about you, quote, his mom wasn't going to let him go to the FBI office to talk, but he went anyway. And then Peter Strzok replies, that's what you get for not listening to mom, and then gave the little winky face there. These guys were in really deep, looking at almost every aspect of your life. That feels pretty personal, I imagine.
Look, that's absolutely right. I left the inauguration. I went to visit family, and I'm abruptly stopped by these two agents while I actually was with family. So they were, you know, intrusive, very keen on understanding every aspect of my life, even, you know, family matters, it looks like. So it's actually terrifying to think that this could have happened in America. I mean, the FBI resembled more so the KGB than what we as Americans think the FBI should be, and that's a nonpartisan, unbiased, revered institution that basically safeguards our rights and preserves the Constitution, and that was completely tore up here.
Is that true? Is that story true, though, what we just read there? Did your mom tell you not to go?
I think they were a little smarter than I was. back then when they saw these individuals coming towards me and my family. And I just said, look, I have absolutely nothing to hide here. I'm here to help whatever they need. And little did I know, for months before that meeting, I had phone calls recorded. The campaign was being spied on by at least 10 different people. So it's just an incredible story. And, you know, we need all of this to be declassified. And the president's definitely making the right move, getting as much of this information out there for the American public to see exactly what happened in 2016, so we assure it never happens again.
Yeah, George, hang on just for a second. We're going to bring in our panel for today, Hal Lambert, who's a former Ted Cruz National Finance Chair and founder and CEO of Point Bridge Capital. Also, Boyd Matheson, former Chief of Staff to Senator Mike Lee. Guys, good to see you. Hal, I'll start with you. What do you make of this revelation that this investigation started before the FBI said it did?
Well, I think it's an important revelation. I'm not surprised by it. I think we need to know exactly when it started. I think we need to look further back and see if it started months and months prior to that. Yeah. Everyone needs to remember Donald Trump at that point was the presidential nominee for the Republican Party. So they're now investigating the nominee. They were clearly doing it before they said they did. Did they investigate other candidates? Did they investigate Ted Cruz? Did they investigate staffers at other campaigns? We need to know how deep this goes. And I think they need to look further back. And people need to remember, Peter Strzok said in a text message with Lisa Page, she said to Peter Strzok, he's not going to be president of the United States, is he? Talking about Donald Trump. And Peter Strzok said, oh, no, we're going to stop it. So, look, this was clearly their motive, and we need to really get more details behind it. I don't understand why there's this slow release. Perhaps this email was released in error to the public right now, and that's part of the reason now they're going to have to go back and look further. Yeah, Boyd, I mean, you look at all this, and it just seems to paint a picture of a DOJ that was just hell-bent on keeping Donald Trump out of the White House. What do you think?
Yeah, and that's such a critical thing for the country, going back to George's point that, if you have a institution of government that can spy on you, lie to you, and target you, that is not what this country is all about. And so these things do have, getting these things out in the light and having that transparency is so vital. Not only to make sure we get things right, because that does matter. It matters that we get things right in the end, even though it may cause all kinds of other problems. If we can get the right thing in the right ruling and judgment in the end to hold people accountable, that will reinforce public trust. But if we continue to skate past these things and say, well, that was then and this is now and we need to move forward, those are nice things to say, but it still continues to undermine the trust and confidence the American people have in elected officials, in institutions of government, and that's not good for the republic.
Absolutely. Okay, George Papadopoulos, thank you so much for your time. Good to see you.
Newsmax TV is now America's fastest growing cable news channel. We give you the real news you need. So subscribe to our YouTube channel and give us a thumbs up. If you like this video, share it with your friends. Newsmax TV streams live on YouTube for free. Newsmax TV, real news for real people.